Dear viewers, welcome back to Community Matters. Today we are talking about racism in 21st century Britain and its impact on ethnic minority. Today I am very delighted to have Barrister Talha and Fahmida Rahman with me as a guest. In our last segment we were talking about how marginalization can lead into radicalization. Is there any real risk in it? This segment, as this is the final segment, we will try to talk about some solution, because we've been talking about problems quite a lot. If I can start with you, Barrister Talha, what do you think, what can be the solution? Over the past decades, we have made significant progress. Nowadays, we can see more young people from ethnic minority going to universities. But what are the solutions? What is your advice for the young people? What they should do more? And also at the same time, what the community organization, what the politicians, what they can do more in order to ensure that 21st century Britain is much more well represented?
Yeah, I think the starting position is everybody needs to recognize that not all Bengalis or Bangladeshis are same. When I say they are not all same, I don't mean discriminate between them. What I mean is the class divide that you see in the wider society are also true to our society, as in our own community. Why is that recognition important? That recognition is important because otherwise you will see some BME children doing very well and think they're doing well. Why aren't they doing well? So you take an initiative which works with some, and then you think the initiative is fine because it's working with them, so it must be something wrong with the others who are not achieving. So any intervention at state level, for example, these diversity schemes, I mean, Fahmida talked about earlier, I thought it was really telling, because I had this theory all the way along that all the diversity schemes does is it gives an advantage to already an advantaged group of people who just happen to be brown or black or whatever. So clearly it's not, if we want genuine.
So you suggesting that those sort of opportunity needs to be reach out to wider community?
Well, I think we need to rethink as to how best we maximize opportunity for all, and not just take comfort that yes, we have this initiative for BME and that's it, it's going to work. That's one. The other thing that we need to do is, I think the community organization has a great role to play. In the 80s, early 90s, I wasn't here in the 80s, by the way. I came here. I'm a first generation migrant, although my father was here, but I wasn't born in this country. But in the 80s and 90s, when you read the British Bangladeshi history, for example, we had a rich tradition of community organization that were at the forefront of campaigning for rights against racism and so on. But that has now died down, right? So if you look at early years, 80s and 90s, we had a lot of supplementary schools, and they played a great role in terms of integrating newly arriving young people into society and getting ahead of the class.
Making them feel more welcome.
So they played an important role. But what happened is they did not keep pace with the change, and so they have become defunct. Most of the community organization now has become a farce. They're not really playing a role. So I think we need to look back and reinvent, recreate, regenerate some of these organizations so that they can connect success with those who needs to be successful, right? So the other thing that needs to happen, and I said that's an advice more for my generation and people of my type who has done well, is that we see sadly a trend that successful professionals from our communities, as soon as they're successful, they put their Thai Hamlets flat on sale, or they put their on the rent, and off they go to a suburban middle class area. Now, I respect people's aspiration for a big and nicer home and good schools and so on. But if people like me do not get involved and inspire the next generation of leaders and high achievers, who will? So we need to get involved so that our young people grow up with this sense of belief that yes, we can achieve and be successful.
So you are suggesting that those community organizations, they do need to redefine, they do need to modify their aims and objectives so that they can bring themselves into 21st century standard?
There is an element of that, but what I'm saying is more than that. What I'm saying is that a lot of the organizations now feel that they don't have a role to play because historically they campaigned about housing, they campaigned about better treatment from police, better treatment from politicians, and those issues now seems less important in timeless, for example, because you don't see far right coming and fighting, knocking on your door. But these organizations need to realize that they have a role to play, but a different kind of role, and if they can redefine, they will have a future. But most importantly, I think people who has done well, and there are good number of people. There are QCs, there are judges, there are
good businessmen,
business people, there are highly successful city professionals within our community. What we need to do is we need to remain actively involved in the community so that our young people have role models to look up to and say, yes, we can do that. So I was the first of 8 siblings, eldest of 8 siblings. I went to a good university. I had good results. So for my sibling, simply aspiring to go to university wasn't good enough because that would not even beat my record. For them to do better than me, they had to go to even better university than I am. They had to execute even better. So what I did is I was a role model, if you like, for my younger siblings, right? So if I'm engaged with my community, they will see that my story is not totally different from theirs. My background is not.
They will find a common ground.
Yeah, they will think that if I can make it, they can make it. So we need to do that.
Thank you so much. Fahmi, what's your opinion on it? I mean, in our first 2 segments, we were talking about problems, but to come to a solution, how we can solve this problem, how we can do more, what is your expectation from a politician as a young man? What you think they can do more so that you are much more well represented in terms of getting into a good university after a good result or a good job? What is your suggestion? What is your recommendation for our politicians or people those who make policies?
I think part of it is exposure, so getting more exposure, sort of enabling more young people to get exposure, to put themselves out there and to have that confidence to really stand up in their community. And it starts small scale, like come out of your house and volunteer, things like that, and eventually get involved. And I think those things lead into you having more opportunities. And I think actually through getting involved, and I found through getting involved, I mean, I have, like, by luck of draw, had opportunities to do sort of community activism and things, and those things have got me ahead. Those things have got me jobs and things like that. And I think a lot of people don't, or actually you find, especially with girls, Bangladeshi girls, is that actually there's a glass ceiling within the home. Like, your parents can often have very low expectations, especially for girls, and especially for girls my age. I mean, when a girl reaches the age of 24, and this has happened to me, like, your aunts, uncles, parents turn around and say to you, right, like, when are you going to finish studying, grow up, get married, have babies?
I think it starts long before 24. It doesn't wait till 24.
I mean, yeah,
by 24 the alarm bell starts ringing.
Exactly, the final
but yeah, there is a sort of glass ceiling that even within our homes we experience, let alone the ones that we experience outside. So I think part of it is actually breaking through that and then dealing with what's outside of our homes.
So you suggesting that parents, they can play a role.
I think, like,
relatives, the community in general, they can play a role, and they need to somehow they need to change their expectation towards girls. Is there something you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, where we should be well past the days of, right, daughters, your sisters are your best friends, and they're the only friends you need in the world, and me and your father. But it still happens, and that kind of, it's a hindrance. It's a hindrance to your process, to your progress. It's a hindrance to your ability to be well socialized.
So we need to change the way we see the world as well.
Yeah, we need to change ourselves internally as well as sort of battling the outside. But I think, part of it is sort of just putting yourself out there and going for the opportunities. But I think also there's a big part of when people make it to not denounce where they came from. I think a lot of people, when they get into sort of senior positions, like obviously not everyone, but like a lot of people forget where they came from, or like not necessarily forget, but it becomes increasingly difficult because people that are
so
vocal,
successful people, they need to keep in touch with their own root.
Yeah, but I think something that's really pervasive and something that you find is that vocal people tend to get stuck in the lower echelons of an organization. If you speak up about racism within your organization, you're going to stay at the bottom because no one wants the loud person. It's like the same with if you look at people that are part of trade unions, they're sort of systematically stuck in low grades because they're vocal, they're campaigning for their rights, and the people at the top don't want that.
You're not compliant enough.
Exactly. So like people need to recognize that, yeah, you've got where you've got and you've been silent to get there, but when you're there, actually, no, you need to reach out. If you want your community to do well, then you need to reach out. Even if you're not sort of arguing with your boss about race issues, at least help those beneath you, you know, don't sort of shun your community.
So if I summarize what you just said, so you definitely think that parents or your close relatives, they can play a role, and then also the same time the young people, they need to get involved, and successful people in ethnic minority, they do need to come back and sometimes reflect where they came from. They need to keep in touch with their roots so that they can actually inspire the next generation, so that the next generation can do well as well.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Barrister Talha, for joining us. Thank you very much, Fahmida. We need to finish our program. Today we were talking about racism in 21st century Britain and its impact on ethnic minority. Next week, same time, we'll be talking about another important issue. Till then, Allah Hafiz. Thank you.